Hey, good evening or late evening. It's like almost 9:30 p.m. here in Youngstown, which means I'm going to shoot this and hit the sack. I've had a weekend that sucks. I've been in the shop at work twice, Saturday and today. Took my girlfriend's car in, her fuel injectors finally came in. So I had all the stuff and I picked her car up Saturday morning. And I got there a little later than I wanted because she had to have the car to do some other shit. So I picked her car up, took it in there, stopped. She asked if I could get her wiper blades, so I stopped and got some. Put those on first while the engine cooled down a little bit, and then I started put it on the lift, because I knew I had to get to the underside or some bolts that hold the intake plenum on, that you got to get to from underneath. So I started watching a video and updating my brain on what to take apart, and I got it apart. My coworker Tom came over and gave me a hand partway through it, and got the new fuel injectors. Well, we popped the rail off and we started disconnecting the fuel injectors. I'm like, wait a minute, we really should mark these. So he got a piece of tape and he marked them, and we marked three of them. We left the fourth one because, well, it's the fourth one. Besides, it's the longest one. It's got to be number 4. So we unhook it all. We exchange all the gaskets, all the shit you're supposed to do, pop it back on, and fight the plenum back in her. The video I watched, the engine was out of the car on the cradle, which made it a lot easier. Now that I've done it twice, I can probably really speed through it now. Anyhow, Tom leaves because it's 1 o'clock, so I'm finishing putting it back together, and unfortunately, you can't test it till you get it back together. So basically, you got to do this, put the whole effing thing back together pretty much, or it won't run right. If one of those hoses is off, you got to reconnect all the connectors, and you got to at least torque everything fairly tight, just in case. And then you got to try it. Well, I go to fire it up, and it doesn't start, which didn't surprise me because when I did her spark plugs back in the winter, it didn't start either. I had to disconnect the battery like 3 times, and then it finally started, because what happens is those computers adapt themselves to the bad spark plugs. Her plugs were so bad there was barely any electrodes left. I have no idea how the car could run without plugs. So it finally learned and it ran fine. Well, I'm figuring that's the same shit with the injectors. It's going to take a few cycles. So I did the battery thing a few times. Still doesn't want to start. My boss goes, maybe it needs bled. There should be a bleeder valve on the fuel rail. I'm like, well, no, there isn't, because I saw there wasn't anything. And second off, there was, it's a stupid place because it's under the plenum. So there's got to be a way to bleed it. But I'm tired as hell, because now it's like 2:30. And I said, could you run me back to her place? I could pick up my truck, give her her house keys, because they're on here, in case she wants to go somewhere with her kids or, her friends. And I could at least come back here later. Go home, get a bite to eat, chill for a while. So that's what I did. Came home, chilled, grabbed something to eat, did some research on it, and I really couldn't find anything that specific. So I tried a few experiments. The guy at the parts store says, cycle the key on and off, in her case, the push button, without starting it, without cranking. Just do that a few times. That pushes the fuel through it and should push the air out of it. I tried a few things. I even disconnected the fuel pump, which is on top of the engine. It doesn't have a return line. It has to have one somewhere. Because I look and there's nothing coming off the rail. There's nothing coming off the pump. Only an inlet and an outlet and some wiring. So anyhow, I disconnected the fuel pump line and I went to start it, and it just cranked and cranked and cranked. I hit the button one time, took my foot off the brake. It's cranking on its own. In the meantime, it is squirting a geyser of gasoline up and over the hood out on the floor. I'm like, but all of a sudden it started and it was running. I'm like, all right. So I reached in real quick, hit the push button, shut it off, tightened the fuel rail back up, not the fuel rail, but the pump, and hit the key again. It won't start. I'm like, what the flying beep? You know what I mean? I'm like, what's with this thing? Parts store guy said, try putting some starting fluid in the intake, in the air cleaner there, and let it suck on that. And then maybe if it runs for a while, it'll start bleeding the fuel out and the air out of the fuel line. So I tried that, and it just runs till it runs out of breather, out of the ether, and it stops. I'm like, finally, I text her, or she texted me. She's at a friend's house. She goes, how's it coming? I said, not good. And I said, I'm about to give up for the night. She was like, go get some rest. Go home, crash, do whatever, and then, go back in the morning. So I played with it a little bit longer. I got up under it one time. I looked, and on the fuel rail, there's the pressure valve switch. And it has the tab that hooks over the little hook on the button, on the plug. Well, it has the hook on either side of the plug. I'm thinking, don't tell me I got that in there at 180. I said, if that's it. But I could reach it with my bare hands, but I had no strength to push it because my wrist was so compacted, I couldn't push hard enough and pull down. Plus, I had zip tied it, so there was already any slack. And I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go home and I'm going to disconnect the battery before I leave so it sits unplugged overnight. That puts the computer back to day one is what that does. And I said, maybe it'll run in the morning. So first thing this morning, I got up extra early. I was up before 6, did my laundry, folded that, got there before 9 o'clock. And first thing I did was put the battery terminal back on, hit the button, it won't start. So I put it on the lift, try to make it easier to disconnect that plug. I got a hook tool up in there. I was able to press the safety button and unplug it. And I'm turning it around, and I can see it looks like it, even though the outside had a hook on either side of it, the inside keyways were only shaped, uniquely on each side. So I'm like, it can't go in the wrong way. So I'm like, that's not it. I'm thinking, I know what it got to be. We got at least a couple of the fuel injectors wrong. I'm thinking 1 and 4 got to be right. Because 1's the shortest, 4 was the longest, and the other 2, I bet we got number 2 and 3 switched. But there's no way to disconnect them from down below. So I take the whole frickin' plenum, throttle body, everything loose again, which I did a lot faster now because I didn't even have to watch the video. So I got it all out, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, these wires look like they can only go one way. How could it be wrong? So I watched the video over and over and over, and I have to keep trying to pause it because the guy's fingers are in there. He's talking while his partner's doing the work. Well, right at the time I'm trying to see what color wires are coming out of there, he puts his hand in there to, point to, I'm like, you're blocking it. Well, every now and then his hand would move. So I'd hit pause real quick, and I'm looking at it. I go, wait a minute. That one, number 2 has red tape right before the plug. Our red tape's on number 3. So I bet that's what I'll switch them. And then finally I got to see number 1 plug. And it has a white and a black wire. Because most of it's covered with tape up to the plug. But there's probably that much showing. And I can see it's a white and black wire. White and black wires down here. There was enough length, believe it or not, to change them. I guess it's the way they taped them and routed them originally. So I swapped them around, zip tied it all back together. I even had the fuel rail out at one point just to make sure fuel was getting in there. And the whole rail is full of gas. So it's not an air bubble. So I put it all back together, put the wires the right way, put everything back together, hit the key, and it fires up. I'm like, really? We got all 4 of them wrong. The only thing I think might have happened is when I took the fuel rail out, it flipped over and rotated, and we had it upside down and had them backwards. So anyhow, that's the good news. But still, it was like by the time I got done and put the car back together and, the underbody panels and all that, it's still fairly early. It was just, I want to say, close to noon. I'm like, this is still good. This is still good. So I took the car down the road real quick, ran it through the car wash, brought it back to the shop, parked it up front. I'm like, okay, it's good. So I go back in to turn out all the lights and kill everything. And I come back out the front door, sit down in her car, because I figure I'll drive her car back to her house so we can go get lunch, and then she can come back here and I can pick up my truck. I wanted to drive her car so that the fuel injectors and the computer had time to meet each other. Because they said that, it's going to take a few miles of driving until they coordinate fully. Because it ran a little rough at points, but it smoothed out as I drove it. So I get back in her car. I text her, hey, look, I'm heading over to your place. I'm heading home first. I'm going to get cleaned up and changed. I'll come pick you up. We'll go get lunch, then, get my truck and all that. She's like, oh, great. I'm like, And just as I about to start the car, my phone rings. It's my boss. I'm thinking, well, he's probably asking, "Hey, Joe, how's it going? Did you get it running?" And I said, "I said, what do you want?" He starts laughing. He goes, "You at the shop?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, could you do me a favor?" I'm like, "Really? What?" He goes, "Well, one of our customers left his truck there over the weekend. We have to do some stuff for it this coming week, and he needs something out of it." I said, "Okay." Uh, I said, "I could either take it out of the truck if we know what it is, and I could maybe put it in the bushes or something. He could pick it up later, or I could wait for him if he's not far away." He goes, "Well, let me call you back and find out." I said, "Okay." So I go back inside the building, and I'm standing by the guy's truck waiting. My boss finally called. It took him a little longer than I wanted. And he goes, "He needs the backpack that's in the back seat. It's got his laptop in it." He goes, "If you want to, just throw it, behind the bench up front." I said, "No." I said, "How far away is he?" And he goes, "Well, he said he's like 7 minutes away." I said, "I could wait. I don't want to put a laptop computer in a backpack outside and have someone snoop around and find it. So 7 minutes ain't that bad." So I text my girlfriend and said, "Hey, look, I'm going to be a little bit later, but I'll still be there." And she's like, "Okay." And it took him less than 7 minutes because I sat in her car and I just fired up the fair, let it idle. And I'm playing on my phone. I look up and his other truck's pulling in the driveway in the parking lot. So I hand him his stuff and we BS about, why I'm there on a Sunday. And he takes off. So yeah, that killed. So I go to her place and then she has her toilet seat's messed up. She got a new one and the one bolt's stuck. It's stripped. So I go up there and I manage to snap it off. I'm like, "We're replacing it anyhow." It's one of those plastic bolts. So I just grab the seat and snap it and put the new one on, go downstairs, throw the junk away, wash my hands. We go to eat. And then she has a bunch of stuff at her house, some garbage to get rid of. And so I have to go back to her house in my truck and take that, go back home. And then that was it. Then I chilled for the day. And I did some model work, which I'm going to show you now. This is the real thing of the video. Well, early this morning, before I even left, while I was waiting for my laundry to go, I got some clear on this puppy. Let's bring it back a little bit. I got some clear on it. It's glossier than it looks, on the video. But yeah, it's got some 1K clear. And you can see the reflection. It needs maybe a little light wet sanding and some polishing, but that's the one for the I need my garage time. That's for his his group build. And see, whoop, that's a back wheel. So yeah, it's gonna look something like that. Of course, that'll be black because that'll be the hub behind her, the drum. But yeah, it looks something like that. And the front will look, not quite that low because that's touching the fender, but probably right about there. So, yep. So that's that one. My Riviera. This is for the Car Modeler Magazine group build on Facebook. This is a color called, this is from MCW. It's called Candy Tangerine. I put it over silver and it came out more of a, I don't know, you almost want to call it a pink. Let's get back under the light. Well, it's kind of an orangish pink. It's really different. Well, however, it came out pretty nice, and I cleared it this morning. Now, what I did is I took a little bit of leftover clear I had, and I did the church key can opener after taking the pressure out of a can, because I had a can that only had yay much. And I put it in my airbrush with some of my Pearl X mix, those pearl powders, and I gave it a little bit more pearl. And it looks pretty cool. And I kind of forgot with the 1K Duplicolor Pearl, you do have a recoat time. But I thought I was still within the window. Now here's the thing about 1K. I've used it a lot. And I've recoated within the window, out of the window, slightly out, way out, and everything in between. And sometimes it works without a problem. Sometimes it has a problem. And the weirdest thing is, I've done a lot of die-cast cars with it. I'll put decals on, and like a day later, I'll clear it, the second coat to seal them. It'll lift here on this quarter and on that door, and that's it. It doesn't lift the whole car. And that's what happened on this. This whole side, quarter panel, door, fender, this pillar of the roof, some of the roof, and like half the trunk lid. The rest was fine. So I let it dry while I was doing all that crap today, and I came home and I've been wet sanding on it, and I got it fairly smooth where the lifting happened. So I'm fighting with myself. Do I try to clear it again? Now that it's going to be a few more days, but cause I'll do it tomorrow at work. Because I want to be able to blow all the cat hair and the dust off it. Or do I just try rubbing it out and leave it? Because I haven't even got down to the color yet. There was no color on the sandpaper. There was enough clear on there that I didn't even go through yet. So I'm fighting myself. I mean, at least I know I can wet sand it if it lifts again. But now that I wet sanded the layer down, I might get away with recoating it. So I'm fighting with myself on that. Then I have, for Kim's Custom Garage, this is due at the end of October, I got the Merc in gray, and after I painted this, I'm like, you realize that's sort of the Cobra Merc, but it's going to be different in that I'm still going to do the flame mask and, put some clear. I ordered some clear from MCW, and I'm going to put some of my pearl powder in it. And I'll do the flames in one color clear with the pearl. Take the flames off, and as long as they don't peel the paint or there's no problems, then I'll mix some different pearl up, a slightly different color, with some pearls in them, and clear it all again. And hopefully nothing lifts and it all comes out good and you can see some ghost flames. But I gotta get moving on this because it's due at the end of October. But I got the gray on it and it really looks good. So that one I'm working on. Then the Mars Garage, I got his rust bucket coming along. I got my Youngstown decals, and I gave it that spray painted over look between markers and block washes. Unlike the real thing, like I said, back in the day, they painted those logos on, and they didn't have quite the detail to them. And of course, being painted on, when they spray painted over them, you could still see it, the raised part. But I want to be able to slightly see it. 42 they probably wouldn't bother painting over, but I did dirty it up. And that side's a little bit dirty, but see, it still sort of says something. But I want to give it that used, decommissioned look. So there's that. And I got a radiator with a or a shroud with a fan, electric fan. That's going to go right there. Even though that's not the radiator, they give you a right here. They give you this, which is your tank and your radiator. However, if I use this, it won't let me fit this engine. Well, it lets me fit the engine, but the intake that comes out of here, it won't fit because it'll hit that. Unless I make a really sharp angled tube come over with the air filter, or I'm going to just leave it out, just leave it black like that, even though it doesn't have the texture. I'm probably going to cut the top of the tank off, glue the tank on there, because you're really not going to see that much. And then I'll put the shroud with the electric fan there and save myself the hassle of trying to find or make the right tube, because I have the intake tube and the filter, the cold air box that comes with this engine. And that's the engine, by the way. I added these decals just a little bit ago. They're a little bit big, but I figure it's a custom touch. Engine's got some weathering. How well it's going to focus, but I got the starter on there and the belts, the filter. I just took some random decals that are like engine compartment decals from other kits. You really can't read them, so they're perfect for something like that because they don't, help. You don't know what they are. So, but yeah, I got that. I got to like dull coat and paint the logos up there and dull coat those and give those a wash yet. So I got that working on this weekend. Yeah, even in between all this BS going on, I'm getting stuff done. And then, okay, here's Joe doing it again. Even though I still got over here my 10 by 11 10 cars which I also got to work on in between here, because November 10th isn't that far away. I want to at least get half of them done. I got 2 of them done already. So I got 8 more, and I got a couple over here. But anyhow, the only reason I'm getting into this group build is because it doesn't have an end date. If it had an end date, well, let's be honest. If it's got no end date or a really far away end date, I'll get into another group build. This one has no end date. So this is going into the Leon's model car, I think it's 1589, Lowrider group build. Now there's a couple of reasons I'm going with this one. Well, A, Lowrider. Dun, 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 dun. And besides, I watch what some of the other guys are using, and even though I got those kits, I don't really necessarily want to go with them. Because I'm like, well, other guys are going with it. I have this. This was a used special. It was an open kit. The hobby shop, Tom over at Boardman Hobby took in trade. And, yeah, he took this in trade, and it was an open kit just taped together. Now, the funny thing is, it can only be built as a Lowrider, this version. There's no stock parts, but this kit has been opened, and somebody's done some work on it. They didn't glue nothing, but there's extra parts in here. There's parts from the 59. Like the 59 taillights are there, the 59 hubcaps are there, and some other assorted parts. So as long as all the parts are here to build this, I'll be building this. Now, I may not use all these decals, even though it does have the bikini girl with the heaven sent and all that, and it has the opening trunk and everything. Funny thing, I don't know if it'll show in this picture or not, but look at these decals. I don't even think they applied them. It looks like they cut them off the sheet and just laid them on the trunk lid. I mean, look at that. It's not even going like through that dip that's in the trunk. It's just laying there. And then if you look closely here, see, look at that. It's not even down. They cut them off the sheet, and look like they just set it on the body. Some of them look sort of applied. And that one too. See, it's got a little raised area. But yeah, so that, Leon, this is my entry video too, so that's what I'm jumping in with. Plus, it says on the instructions, it has gold-plated, spokes in it. This kit does not. It has the chrome ones. But it says gold-plated on the side of the box, but even here they're not gold. But I could do that or just leave them chrome. But yeah, I'm going to do something with it. Like I said, these decals, whether they'll work or not, I don't even know. But I may just do a panel type paint job or something simple. I'm not sure if I'm capable of doing a full-on, Lowrider paint job with 800 panels and lace and squigglies and murals and all that stuff. So, but that's my entry into that. So yeah, I'm going to be jumping on that. But anyhow, people, that's where I am. Yeah, so I'm just contemplating. I mean, I didn't touch color yet, so I may just rub this out. Because as you can see, it has a pretty good gloss to it now. But I'm thinking, oh, it'd have so much better gloss if I could get at least a few coats of, 1K on here. And it's slightly chipped here. I don't know if it'll show or not. Yeah, and I don't have too much of this paint left. I have the jar it came in. There's a couple microscopic drops left. But like I said, it's nothing. Dudes and dudettes, honest to God, it's called Candy Tangerine. And in the jar, when you shook it up and looked at it, it was more or less red like this. Maybe with a tad more orange to it, but still, it looked more red than tangerine. So I'm thinking, well, it's going to look like maybe a orange or something, a reddish orange. And even though I had the pearl, this isn't too far. Well, there. I didn't add any pearl to the trunk lid or the underside of the hood. That's what it looked like. That does not look tangerine to me. That looks more like a, almost a rose color. But it's still nice. It captures the look I want. I'm going monochrome. I might go with the custom grill and just have it chrome with the well, black most of it except for the lip. Or I may put the stock one there. But I decided to go monotone. And of course, I got to put some flat black down in there and paint the marker lights down here and a little more wash on those. But that's where I'm at. So anyhow, hope I didn't bore you too much with the car story. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Oh, excuse me. Oh, wait a bit. I do have the jar here. See? Tangerine gloss lacquer. But look at the color. See, there it looks more orange. But when it got on my fingers and stuff, it looked pure red. Because some of it, spilled on my fingers. Oh, God, this video is 25 minutes already? Oh, my God. If you guys haven't put a gun in your mouth and offed yourselves, sorry about that. Damn, I didn't realize I babbled that long. So now it's really late. I got to get to bed. So, okay, people, thanks so much for watching. I'll be updating you on all these. Hopefully everything smooths out on that. And I'll get everything done here. Hopefully. And then I didn't touch the yard this week. Well, yesterday was kind of on and off misty rain. The finest mist you ever seen. Just enough to make things chilly and wet. Today, by the time I did all the running around, I just didn't have enough oomph to even think of cutting grass or doing any kind of yard work. So hopefully this week, it's supposed to warm up a little. Actually, maybe almost a summer, but not quite. And hopefully I'll get some things done after work. And that'll be it. All right, hey, well, thanks so much for watching again, people. I hope I didn't totally bore you to death. And it's back to work tomorrow, so it's like I never left the damn shop being there both days. Oh, God. And hey, like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you later. Thanks for watching. Good night.